I'd like to begin by sharing a remembrance of what I learned from one yogi in the Himalayan mountains about 40 years ago. At that time, I had just turned 20 years old after hitchhiking from London to the Himalayas, seeking meaning and fulfillment, what I believe everyone is looking for in various ways within this world. Although being brought up in the United States of America, where there was much prosperity, at the same time in the 1960s, there was much confusion and serious questions in the minds of the youth. I came to my own conclusion that if we do not have something very deeply meaningful that we're striving for in life, if we don't have an ideal we're willing to die for, we have nothing really very fulfilling to live for. So in so many ways I was trying to find that through social exploration, through revolution, through counterculture. And eventually I came to the conclusion that even the greatest people that I deeply respected on all levels, the foundation in which they were trying to change the world was from a spiritual ideal. Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King, and so many others. There was a spiritual basis that they were trying to share with the world. They weren't trying to take something. They were trying to give what they have found in themselves. Gandhi said we should be the change we want to see in the world. I was looking for that. I started looking for it in various isms, in various philosophies, in traveling to various countries. We came to the conclusion I have to find it in myself, or I'm not really going to find it anywhere else. So there I was, just out of my teens, alone without money, looking for that ideal in the jungles of the Himalayas. I had just sat on a rock for 1 month on the bank of the Ganges, meditating, praying. And as I went higher and higher into the Himalayas in the jungle, I met one yogi. His name was Kailash Baba. He was a very gigantic man, at least compared to me. I'm 5'6". I weigh about 125 pounds, and I weighed that much when I was 20 years old too. But he was probably 6'5", and he was a mountain of a man living in the mountains. He was around 65 or 70 years old. He left his home when he was about 15 to live as a hermit, wandering in the jungles, seeking the divine. In those 50 years, he never shaved, he never cut his hair, or combed it. So he had long hair, and it was only in about 4 or 5 big strands that it was so long that he would be tripping over it. So just in order to walk, he had to wrap it in a huge, like a beehive, on top of his head and tie it. And he had a kind of a wool, one piece of clothes that went from his neck to his feet. And he carried a trident, a 3-pronged iron spear, and had a big drum at the end of it. He was really into this drum. It was part of his meditation. And when I met him, he became like a father to me. He saw me wandering alone. I think he felt sorry for me. Actually, the way we first met was in a place called Devprayag, a very holy place in the Himalayas, where 2 rivers meet, the Alaknanda and the Bhagirat. And where they meet, officially, it's called the Ganges. Now, I climbed down a mountain to bathe in this holy confluence of 2 rivers, and it was very early in the morning, still dark, because that's what yogis are supposed to do. Maybe not in Boston, but in the Himalayas. To wake up really early in the morning and take a bath first thing. And it was about February, so it was pretty cold. In fact, it was extremely cold. And I climbed down this mountain, and I could hardly see. I went into the river. The current was so fast. I didn't realize that everyone who bathes there has to hold on to chains while they're bathing. Otherwise, they die, because the current's so fast, it just slips you away, and you go under the water after some time. No human being could possibly swim against that current, or even with that current. So I didn't know about these chains. So I started flying down the river. All of a sudden, I felt this hand, which was like a vice grip, grab my arm and lift me right out. One hand, lift me right out of the water. And then he took me with the other hand and put me on the bank of the river. That's how I met Kailash Baba. And then he started chanting these Sanskrit mantras to protect me. And I guess he realized I really needed somebody to take care of me. So he took me, and we traveled around, the 2 of us. I learned a lot from him. He taught me relationships on the basis of yoga. And the way he taught me, it was a matter of survival. Sometimes when you go to college, you take some courses, you get some really nice information, and then you think, someday I'm going to apply this to my life. Yes? But in the setting that I was in, it had to be applied at that moment if you want to survive. He was explaining to me how to live with your neighbors. Now, I know in Boston, we might live in the city, like in a suburb, inner city, I don't know, but you have neighbors. And how to live with them. And how to live with the people in your same house. Your husband, your wife, your children, your parents, your grandparents. In India, your great-grandparents, everybody's in the same house sometimes. Well, in the jungle, First of all, I had to live with him. Second of all, we had no houses. We were sleeping in caves or riverbanks or under trees. And there was every now and then, not every now and then, there was always, every now and then we would see them. There was leopards, wild elephants, panthers, a lot of cobras, vipers, various other color snakes, scorpions, plenty of monkeys, and mosquitoes. Kailash Baba taught me, if you have any ego where you think that you're better than them, they are going to kill you. He said, you have to see a relationship with them. You have to honor them, respect them, and give them their space. You honor and respect them with humility, and they will honor and respect you. If you fear them, they will kill you. Now, this was a crash course, because they were right there. There were no bars. He told me, you are a guest in their house. This is their jungle. They've been here forever. And then he explained to me, in his own way, how you could actually do that. You have to understand the sacredness of life. Wherever there is life, there is a spark of divinity. There is a part of God. And that spark of life is who we are. And that spark of life is who they are. And if we understand that we are all from the same origin, aham bija pratapita. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that I am this father and mother of all living beings. And in so many of the great spiritual paths, we find that we all have a common origin, Ishvara, the divine, or God, who has many names. And if we recognize that godliness, that spark of life which is so sacred and so precious and divine, as the source within ourselves and in the source within others, then we actually understand we're brothers and sisters. We can honor each other and respect each other. So I started looking at these cobras slithering by a few feet away. My brother, I honor you from a distance, but I honor you. He told me you have to keep a distance from them. If you come too close, that's not honoring them, because you have to honor them. Honor the leopard by understanding he's more powerful than you. That little spark of God has a body that can rip you to pieces. And that little spark of God in the cobra has a body that can bite you and kill you in a moment. So respect them, honor them, but don't fear them. This was a beautiful lesson.